Book Club Shmook Club is brought to you by Talk Bomb. It's a book review show where I, Kristen Rogers Anderson, and my brother, Will Rogers, talk about a different book every other week. For more information, like our full archive of shows and our calendar of upcoming books, go to talkbomb.com/schmook. SHMOOK. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram under the usernames @ChillinKristen and @HauntedSponge. Book Club Shmook Club is available on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Hello, welcome to Book Club Shmook Club. I'm Kristen.
I'm William.
And this week we're going to be talking about Psycho
by Robert Bloch.
I'm glad you said that. I was about to say Edward Bloch, and
By
then
Mr.
I had
Bloch.
a feeling that that wasn't right.
Not right at all.
It is, perhaps you've heard of a little movie called Psycho?
Heard of it much?
This is the book that it's based on, and it is good.
It is good.
Did you think so?
I was thrilled.
I loved it.
I was dazzled. I was on the edge of my seat and the tip of my toes.
Oh my God.
With every plot twist that came our way.
I know.
This is one of those things that, like, I think I brought it up before. I don't know if I did on Shmook Club or not, but they're almost like a checklist of items that are run down whenever a new human being is born, where they just go like, here are some things you're going to need to know about Earth and being alive. One, don't worry about trees. Don't be afraid of them. They're tall, they're looming, but that's natural.
Right.
Dogs are cute.
We did talk about this because I had
Shining,
the
Jack
urge to make the same joke that I made before.
What?
That all kids know to go, na-na-na-na-na-na.
Yeah, and they all do that rumba dance.
Yes.
And this is one of those things that Psycho, at the end of it, it turns out the mother was dead the whole time, and Norman Bates dresses like his mother.
Yep. There were a couple times in it because the book is a little different than the movie, and also just because I was very aware that it came out way before the movie, that I was like, at this point, are we supposed to know, as just readers who had never seen the movie before, that she's dead?
Right.
Like, stuff like that.
That was probably the most
really
fun
cool.
part of reading it, was trying to get myself in the shoes of somebody that doesn't know the twist.
Yeah.
And, I can't help but read it as somebody who does know the twist. And
but there were a couple times where it really seemed like you were supposed to believe that she was alive. So I was like, oh, that's right. Like, that you're supposed to have no clue that whole thing is going on.
There were also a couple of times, though, like probably only in the first, like, 25% of the book, something like that, where enough had happened in it that, like, referred to the mother. Yeah. Like, mother did this, or mother's doing this, but she was never actually present in any scene. That I was like, wow, what a quaint old world way of, like, I guess people weren't used to that sort of natural twist of like, oh, it wouldn't have occurred to anybody that we've never seen the woman, that we've never actually heard her speak.
Well, she's
but
just
then
a
she does,
old woman, you know?
I was happy, though, that a little bit later there were scenes that she was actually present in. Do you have a plot synopsis for us?
I do. Let me pull it up. I should have done this earlier. I'm sorry.
Well, Kristen, everyone's pretty pissed.
I was all proud of myself because I brought up the notebook for the Kindle thing so I could go through the notes, but I forgot about the plot synopsis.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here we go.
I mean, I'm excited about the plot because obviously it follows.
It's kind of a long one, actually, again.
I know. I'm very surprised by how much goes on in this book. Yeah. All right, go for it, Raj.
All right. Okay. It's a good one. Norman Bates is a good boy. Or is he?
Wow, that should be on the back of the book.
Norm runs a small motel off the beaten path and takes care of his sickly mother.
Did you call him Norm?
No, I said Norman, unless I just said that by accident.
Good old Norm.
Your friend and mine, Norm, runs a small hotel. Okay, so that guy runs a small hotel off the beaten path and takes care of his sickly mother. One night, a woman named Mary comes to rent a room. She's on the run from the law after taking the $40,000 she was meant to deposit at the bank for work, and she's making a run for it, switching cars several times along the way to throw off authorities. Norman invites Mary up to the house he shares with his mother and gets very upset when, after hearing about their codependent relationship, Mary suggests Norman put Mother into a hospital and live his own life. Norman walks her back to her room and goes into his office next door, where he drinks from a bottle in his desk and spies on her through a peephole until he passes out. Mary is in the shower when someone throws back the curtain, and she just makes out an overly made-up face before she is stabbed repeatedly and beheaded. Norman wakes up and finds her the next day. knows that his mother must have done it and cleans up the room to a fare thee well. He puts her body in the car and pushes it into the swamp behind the house. Not long after, Mary's long-distance fiancé Sam gets a visit from Mary's sister Lila, who's distraught after not hearing from or seeing her sister in a week. They're visited by a detective named Arbogast, who's been hired to find Mary by her employer, and who winds up at the Bates Motel while attempting to retrace Mary's steps. He calls Sam and Lila from the motel to let them know he's onto something and that he's about to question Norman's mother, who he's seen in the upstairs window, but they never hear from him again because he got too nosy and Mrs. Bates had to dispatch him, forcing Norman to clean up the mess and push his car into the swamp as well. Sam and Lila go to the sheriff, who tells them that Arbogast must have lied to them and is just off to chase the money himself. You see, Mrs. Bates has been dead for 20 years. Sam and Lila go to the motel to find some answers, and even though he's been drinking, Norman recognizes that Lila must be Mary's sister from the family resemblance. They request the same room that Mary had, and Norman spies on them, only to have his fears confirmed. They're here to investigate Mary's disappearance, and they suspect him. But he's got a sweet buzz on, and he's feeling pretty calm and collected about the whole thing.
That part was amazing.
I know. Lila tells Sam she's going into town to get the sheriff, and Sam goes to the office to keep Norman busy. Drinking more and more but still calm, Norman ends up telling Sam about how he killed his mother, then dug her up after she was dead and revived her, and how he knows more than Sam does about everything, including that Lila didn't go into town for the sheriff. She's up at the house where Mrs. Bates is. Lila basically walks into a creepy shit show, and it's awesome. She winds up in the cellar where she finds Mrs. Bates' preserved body and hears footsteps above and tries to hide herself. Norman comes down wearing a tight dress, tons of makeup, and a butcher's knife. He's wearing a butcher's knife? Whatever. But luckily Sam grabs it and the police come in just in time to save them and take Norman away. Norman is locked up for observation, and the doctors come to decide he's suffering from schizophrenia, among other things. His personality fractured into a little boy's, his mother, and an adult trying to keep it all together. Lila pities him, feeling that he's had a horrible life. The book ends with the mother's personality seemingly taking over completely, and deciding that if she stays still and doesn't hurt anyone, not even a fly, they'll recognize she's perfectly sane. The end?
My.
I'll say.
It may not be.
I'm not so sure based on Psycho 2 and 3 and maybe more.
I can't wait to read those books.
I know. I loved this book.
I loved it. I couldn't believe, well, I guess I could believe it. I've been excited to read it for long enough.
It was even better than I thought, though.
Yeah, I agree.
It was because the story is sweet, but it's written so well. Yes. I found myself wanting to highlight like a million passages just because I liked them.
100%.
And then I was like, well, I don't really have anything to say about that except for this is awesome.
I know. I guess that would be the one thing where I just like, you're right. There were a ton of things that I highlighted only because that's so cool.
I still highlighted some of them.
Yeah,
I stopped making notes because I would just write sweet,
about
cool,
like everything,
whatever.
Yeah.
So then I just started just highlighting them by themselves and not writing a note because all I mean is that I loved it.
What is your individual history with Psycho, the movie, the book? What were your thoughts going into reading this?
Well, I really like the movies. I don't have like a huge history with it, to tell you the truth. I really, really like the movie Psycho.
Yeah.
I saw it when I was pretty young, I think, and I've seen it a bunch of times, but not in the last few years.
Yeah.
So I definitely could have benefited from watching it either right before or right after this, because I was reading it and I was kind of like, does that happen in the movie or not? And I couldn't really remember because I haven't seen it that recently. I don't have like a huge like history with it like I do with The Shining, for example.
Yeah.
But I've always really, really been into it. I always really, really liked it. But I mean, not to the extent that I'd ever read the book before, so I can't say it's been a real love affair.
Right. Now, the character of Norman Bates is based on actual real life serial killer Ed Gein.
Yeah.
Who I feel like you probably would know something about.
That I do, William. That I do.
There you go. In reading the book, do you see the resemblance?
No. So I actually
tell us the story of Ed Gein.
Well, in a nutshell, Ed Gein was a real kook.
In a nutball.
May as well have been.
Did you really commonly hear people can call serial killers nutballs?
He was a real, or a kook, as I just said.
Pretty kooky guy, you could say.
He killed a bunch of women and skinned them and made furniture out of them, lampshades, things like that. And police decided through talking to him and the fact that he did all that stuff that he was kind of practicing to make a woman's suit. And so, not Hannibal Lecter. Wait, don't tell me what it is. Don't tell me. Hang on. I have a funny thing happening.
The killer from
Buffalo Bob.
Silence of the
It's not
Lambs.
that. Buffalo Bill. There it is.
Buffalo Bob.
Okay.
Not that bad, but what do we used to think his name was Uncle Howdy.
Yeah, Uncle Howdy. Yeah.
For like probably like 8 years ago now.
Wait, it might have been like Cowboy Howdy, because Uncle Howdy is the actual bad guy from The Exorcist. Bad guy meaning the devil.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, that's who she like contacts on a Ouija board. It's at least like a bad spirit.
I never watched The X-Files.
No, The Exorcist.
Oh, I thought you said The X-Files.
No.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's Captain Howdy. I don't know.
I would like to read The Exorcist. Involved.
Oh, me too. I love that book.
Really? We should get to that eventually.
Totally. I haven't read it in a while either, so that'd be awesome.
Maybe, you know what? I'm torn because now now that we're done with Psycho, we're going to go to Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. My instinct goes one of two ways. Yeah. One, I want to dive right into Psycho 2, or I want to take time off.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I'm not sure.
Just once Harry Potter's done, maybe the new thing that we do series on, off should be horror series.
But I kind of want to read horror things all throughout.
No, I know. Yeah, I know. But I mean, like, we'll bounce around a little bit. Maybe Psycho.
But I think we're just going to do that anyway.
All right, whatever. Anyway, all right. So Ed Gein, he was going to make a woman's suit.
Yes. So anyway, so yeah, he was going to make a woman's suit. So again, inspiration for Silence of the Lambs. And also, so I knew about that. So when I was reading this book, I was like, I don't really get the resemblance because he doesn't do that. And then I looked it up, and apparently, what's his first name? Robert Bloch? I was going to say Edward again, or William or whatever. He lived not far from where Ed Gein lived around that time.
Oh, yeah.
And so he was reading about just in his like local papers and everything.
That's crazy.
And basically based this on the idea of there being like a psychopath next door. Just somebody who lives near town or whatever.
Yeah.
And then apparently when he found out later, I don't know if I mentioned this, that, they speculated that Ed Gein was doing this stuff because he had a weird relationship with his mother. And he wanted to kind of emulate his mother.
Yeah.
He was surprised by that. He didn't know it. And then he was weirded out by the parallels between what he had written and what actually had happened.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Do you know what was going on with Ed Gein and his mother?
I don't.
No?
Not the top of my head.
I wonder what it was now.
Yeah, I don't know. I could look it up while you're doodadding around a little bit.
I'll give a little bit of my history with Psycho. I think that I watched Psycho. We lived in Connecticut from like 1986 to 1997.
Yeah.
Or longer than that, because you lived there longer. I was born in 1986.
Yeah.
You had friends over one night, and you guys watched Psycho. Uh-huh. And I was really young. I think that I was like, maybe 5. Really? Which meant that you guys were still 8? Young. Yeah, I think so.
I mean, that makes sense, because I was such a weird little insomniac. I would always, when mom and dad put me in bed, I would sneak downstairs. Sorry, mom and dad. And,
they're going to be pissed now. I think the statute of limitations is long past on sneaking out of bed to watch TV.
Do you remember at Thanksgiving a couple of years ago, you told a story about how Katie Tenurchis and I snuck out of my room, and you and Mike White unlocked the door to my room and like threw the blankets and everything all around so that you could tell that we weren't there.
Yeah.
And mom did not know about it, and she shot me like a death look.
Like she was pissed?
She wasn't thrilled. It never came up again. And now I hope it doesn't, because we're talking about it now.
It comes up a lot. Do you remember?
But she seemed not thrilled about it.
15 years ago when you snuck out.
Well, anyway, so I used to always sneak downstairs and just watch, like Unsolved Mysteries all the time. Just like whatever, like weird. I just always loved like weird, creepy stuff. So that actually makes total sense that I would be 8 and watching Psycho.
But for me at 5, I didn't know like what I was in for. And
so did this fuck up your worldview?
Kind of, yeah. It created this really strong, like, I would not call it a phobia because it has not persisted. Mm-hmm. But for years, I was afraid of shampooing my hair because
really?
Yeah, because you have to close your eyes to do it. And I
remember you telling me that.
Yeah, and whenever I would close my eyes, I would picture someone opening the bathroom door and coming up behind the shower curtain. Yeah. And like I would get this like the best way I can equate it. Do you remember being a kid and like you'd be in the basement and you're going to go upstairs and you flick the lights off in the basement and you walk up the stairs. Ugh. And as you're walking up the stairs, you start imagining like hands reaching out to get you. So you start running fast.
I would constantly, that. And also if I had to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom or something, I would imagine, a vampire behind me. Like,
wow, really?
Just behind me with his arms like outstretched.
Just about to get you.
Yeah. Like his hands looking like they're going to strangle me, but a few inches away from either side of my neck. And I would just picture that in my mind, and then it would completely freak me out.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, to tell you the truth, along those lines, for the first time in forever, I can't even tell you, I had a nightmare last night that freaked me out, and that I got to go to the bathroom, and I kept thinking about it, and I had to like chill myself out. Like I had to think of something else.
Really?
Basically.
Do you remember what it was?
I kind of do. It was definitely having to do with somebody stabbing somebody else and them doing it over and over and over again. And I kind of think, talking about your dreams is so like boring for the other person, but, Sarah and I were talking about how we were bummed that we haven't watched that Lizzie Borden, Lifetime movie yet. So I wonder if talking about Lizzie Borden brought it on a little bit, because then when I was going to the bathroom, which sounds like a scary movie, I had the Lizzie Borden, like weird nursery rhyme stuck in my head.
I don't know anything about Lizzie Borden.
It's like, I don't know what it is exactly, but it's like Lizzie Borden had an axe. Something, gave 30 whacks, like whatever.
Yeah.
And it was kind of in my head. And also Ryan slept over at a friend's house last night because he like went out after the Super Bowl.
Because you wouldn't stop talking about axes and having frightening nightmares.
So like I didn't like that he wasn't in bed with me and stuff. So I was just kind of lying in bed for a while, like, stop thinking about that. Stop thinking about that. Because I was all freaked out about the dream and it hadn't happened in a really long time.
Weird.
So this is actually very pertinent to my experience.
Yeah. I mean, I never had frightening dreams like that. Really, the only thing that I was afraid of was this shower thing. But like when I would start to shampoo my hair specifically, I would picture two things. One would be somebody coming in and like you can sort of see through the shower curtain and know that they're walking up. Yeah. Like not that I would hear them.
You know, that's one of the things that I don't know because I haven't seen the original Psycho in a long time. I was telling Will before we started recording, I tried to find the original Psycho on Netflix or anything, but I couldn't find it. But the Gus Van Sant remake, which is not good.
With Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Oh, yeah.
Vince Vaughn's choices, which I'm sure Gus Van Sant's choices are really weird.
A lot of like a little boy like...
There's a whole like eating thing. He's always like chewing gum or eating candy and he like puts his whole fingers in his mouth whenever he puts candy in his mouth.
Is that, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's creepy, but it's not that... He also looks like too buff.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Well, I was surprised. Like, when I think
he doesn't seem scary, except for when obviously he's like killing people. He just seems like a strange guy. He's also not unattractive enough.
He seems like the kind of guy that like the moment you start talking to him, you're like, I think you killed them. Like, you would accuse him right away.
Arbogast does seem to immediately think that he's the bad guy because he seems just really weird.
Did they take off for Chicago? Or did you kill them?
Yeah, I'm not
it was
sure.
In the book, he's actually like short and chubby.
Yeah.
Which I was surprised because like even, I haven't seen the original in a long time. Super busy lately.
Yeah. Sure.
But I have not seen the original in some time, but, Anthony Perkins being tall and skinny. And I remember him being like, almost like he would be like the good kid in class.
Totally.
Like
I was
kind of
thinking
like
about
boyish, good looks kind of guy.
Well, so when I was watching this Gus Van Sant one, there's a part where it's a weird, it's so funny to say, it's a weird outfit, so it still makes him look like kind of a weird dude. There's a part where Vince Vaughn is wearing like a tight turtleneck that's like tucked into pants.
Yeah, I saw that. I remember that.
But he looks all buff. You can see like his muscle definition. He's all
like
his
rippling
shirt.
and like looking all good.
Well, he's not looking all good.
I remember him having like rosy cheeks and like a Pee Wee Herman haircut.
No, he doesn't have rosy cheeks. It's that he has full, beautiful lips, and it's
weird. What
about
the Pee Wee Herman haircut? Is that right on? Because in my memory,
he kind of has a Pee Wee Herman haircut, yeah. But no, he noticeably has like biceps and shit in this sweater. And just having read the book, I was like, in the book, they repeatedly, which I made a note of, refer to him as fat, like over and over again. So I was like, well, that's supposed to be non-threatening, I guess. Like that's a view of somebody who I guess like couldn't be that strong or is kind of weak-willed or something. Because they mention it so often that it has to be pointed.
I mean, yeah, but like I think that it's also supposed to make him seem like a loner or like somebody that is not around other people or something like that.
That could be.
You know, like the modern day equivalent would be like a kid who plays video games in his basement.
That could, you know what, you're totally right, but that actually still works for what I'm going to say. So I thought it was weird that Vince Vaughn is noticeably muscly.
Yeah.
And then it made me think about Anthony Perkins, who's super skinny, which is kind of the same version of what you're saying. That could still be somebody who's kind of a loner and isn't like out doing a lot of like group sports.
Yeah.
You know, so they're just sort of two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's true.
Yeah. Oh, but the reason I was saying is I don't know if it happens in the original Psycho, but the thing you were saying about kind of seeing somebody through the shower curtain, that part actually was sweet in this Psycho. And again, it could have been sweet in the original too. And I just don't remember.
Just such a,
you can she's in the shower and they are kind of doing like a POV shot where like all of a sudden it's a clear shower curtain, but it's like kind of patterned and you can kind of see that somebody's there and you're kind of like, oh shit.
It's just such a good idea. Like it would freak me out now if I had never seen it before.
Yeah.
And I think that probably one of the obvious reasons would be that, like, in the shower,
Mm-hmm.
you are really at your most vulnerable.
I think I'm at my strongest.
You're at your strongest in the shower.
Oh yeah.
You get like
The height
Tina
of all my
Turner
powers.
going on your shower
yeah.
radio.
I've got You're Simply the Best playing. I'm taking care of myself.
Like the door creaks open, a shadow creeps up, and you're like, "Oh, I don't think so."
Are you kidding me?
You come through the shower curtain at them. You take
I'm at my
them
most
down.
confident right now.
I mean, I just have like I said, like that memory of being a kid in the basement, shutting off the lights, and then having to run up the stairs.
Yeah.
And that feeling that you can never run fast enough.
Totally.
Having the shampoo on my head, picturing someone coming in, being able to kind of sort of see them through a shower curtain.
And then your no more tears gets in your eyes.
Yes.
That still gives you tears.
Oh no. Yeah. But like, no, what another thing that I would picture, because once I would start picturing that, I would just start like panicking, and I would have to like put my
like
head
super fast
right under the thing of the shower, under the shower head, and try to like get it out. And on top of those other things, I would picture the like shampoo still running down my face, like it wasn't washing away fast enough. Yeah. And there were tons of times that like I would only half get it out and open my eyes like through like soapy water to try. Cause it would. I'm telling for years. For years.
Sorry about that.
For actual years, this
I honestly
was
don't even remember that.
I almost had like, I don't know if it would ever approach, I don't think I've ever had a panic attack.
Yeah.
This was probably the closest I've ever come though. And it was every shower for years.
Yeah.
It scared the hell out of me.
Oops-a-daisy.
Not your fault. And it's an amazing movie. And
yeah,
honestly,
awesome.
like, I guess it was worth it. I'm pretty pleased with where I am now. So that was part of it.
You can shower comfortably now, right?
I shower with absolute confidence. Hands on my hips.
Like me.
I shower like that guy in those Old Spice commercials.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden he's on a horse. That guy.
Right.
Yeah. I guess that was I was excited to get into the book though, because like, again, it's one of those things that you are not allowed to not know.
Yeah.
Everyone knows about Psycho.
It's such a big deal. And it was so interesting. So I tried to just really, I didn't even have to try, honestly. I was just interested. So, even though I couldn't find the actual original movie Psycho, I read all the trivia on IMDb for Psycho. Cause it really is, you're totally right. It's just like a cultural thing that everybody knows by this point. And it's because it's so good.
It's like required reading.
You wouldn't know if it wasn't so good. Nobody would ever talk about it. It would never come up.
Absolutely.
And it was interesting how big a secret Alfred Hitchcock tried to keep it.
Yeah.
He bought the rights to the book for super duper cheap because nobody liked the book apparently. Yeah. Or at least the studios or whatever were not really interested in it. So he bought it crazy cheap. And then because he bought it so cheap, he bought up all the copies of the books he could find.
Yeah.
So that people couldn't read the ending and be spoiled. And then there were just all these weird measures. He did all these commercials for it that were just like, you know, not really showing you much information. There was also, he just wanted people to be so immersed in it that in a lot of theaters they had a record player going that would have the music for Psycho playing and then have a 10-minute warning and then a 5-minute warning because they didn't want you to miss like a minute of the movie because it all adds to it.
Well, that was one of the things, I think it was probably the most recent episode of Will and Bobby Know Everything you were on. We talked about, I watched the movie, Hitchcock, which is about that period of Alfred Hitchcock's life where he wanted to make Psycho. And he was at like an all-time low. I don't remember the actual circumstances of it now, but he had just made a movie that had bombed. Nobody liked it. It looked like his days as being like a master of suspense were over.
It said on the trivia that it still means that it could have bombed, but that he had just made a bunch of big budget movies and he wanted to make something that was more low key.
Maybe then it was that he in himself felt like he had not been successful. But whatever it was, he felt like this was really his last chance to do something huge, and like the studios were against him making this movie. He pushed Janet Leigh, the leading lady of the movie, like to her breaking point on it, I believe. Or maybe not her. No, her sister in the movie, Lila.
That's what's yeah.
Yeah, he like would make her do like the same scene over and over and over again, like over the course of like 3 hours.
Kubrickian.
Yeah, just like torturing her on set to get the shot that he wanted. And like he became absolutely obsessed with this movie and like he was neglecting his actual home life to get it done.
Yeah.
And it came out and was huge.
I'm sure we talked about it there too, but that is a person, I'm sure there are a bunch of them, who I just try to not think about their personal life.
Yeah.
When I think about his work and everything. Cause he sounds like such a creep. And one of the things that I read, on the trivia is that he kept referring to Anthony Perkins as Master Bates.
Oh, that's stupid.
Set. I know, for such an awesome movie, I was like, oh, God, making a schlocky joke the whole time behind the scenes.
What a
put that out of my mind. Yeah.
Fucking cornball.
Sounds like a real hoot.
Sounds like an asshole. Like
he sounds like a total
even
asshole.
I don't know much about him other than that, but if you told me that somebody did that, I'd be like, all right, I don't fucking need to meet this guy.
I don't know. If again, we talked about it on Will and Bobby, but if the movie that I watched, The Girl, that was about the making of the Birds, is any indication, she sounds like a grade A prick. I
also just don't like in general that people called him Hitch.
Yeah, I don't care for that.
Like even that small thing shuts me down a little bit on him. I don't like that.
Agreed.
If he ever said like, just call me Hitch. Oh, he did. He did actually in the movie. One of the lines
he says that to Tippi Hedren too.
In one of the lines, he goes, just Hitch, hold the cock.
Oh,
it's just like,
God.
Oh, fucking kill yourself, asshole.
It's not nice at all, but I also just don't like thinking about somebody who looks like he does, making so many sex jokes. I'm not into it.
He looks like a balloon animal.
He does look like a balloon animal. Or a Simpsons cartoon thing.
He does look like a Simpsons character.
No?
You're right, yeah. All right.
So I found the Ed Gein thing about what his deal with his mom was.
Oh, yeah.
So she was just super duper domineering, and he was really, really shy, and he got bullied sometimes. And to make matters worse, his mother punished him whenever he tried to make friends.
Oh, God.
So he was devoted to making his mom happy. But I'm partially reading this from Wikipedia, so if I sound unnatural, that's why. But his mom was rarely pleased with her boys, believing that they were destined to become failures and alcoholics like their father.
Jesus.
So yeah, he had some mommy issues at the wazoo.
Well, that's no good.
Yeah, well, that sounds like trouble brewing for young Eddie.
Sorry, Eddie.
Yeah.
Hey, Ed, from the kids here at Book Club Shmook Club. Sorry, pal.
Sorry, I had a tough lot in life.
Sounds like you had a tough time, Junior.
Yeah. A real mommy dearest on your hands.
All right. So at the top, the way that the book opens
is amazing right off the bat.
Incredible. This
book was great.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah. It was Norman Bates having a fight with his mother, and it was such layered dialogue that knowing full well going in that he is his mother, and therefore the voice of his mother is either him speaking as his mother or hearing it in his head.
I actually wasn't sure at first. I thought maybe that could have I originally thought that was taking place before he killed her.
Oh, before he would have killed her. Yeah.
So, there was something though that it said like, he didn't even look at his mother and walked out of the room. And I was like, oh, okay, she's already dead. Never mind.
Yeah.
So I actually did not know.
Well, there were awesome things in it that like, I mean, it's up to you guys really to say whether or not this is like corny and annoying. I can see that argument. I just think it's awesome. No. Check this out. Norman Bates is talking to his mother and he goes, you make me sick. She goes, I make you sick, eh? Well, I think not. No, boy, I don't make you sick. You make yourself sick.
Good, Norma Bates voice.
Norma Bates.
I'm Norma Bates.
Hi, Norman. Get in here, Norm. But, you make yourself sick.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
That's not corny, yeah.
Well, it could be like if you're looking at it as like, oh, he's trying to drop hints. That I can see the argument for that, but I just think that that's terrific.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, even looking at it, you're totally right. My only note for that is boom.
Right? I just stopped taking the notes because there were so many things that were just good.
That's all I had to say. And then here's another quote from the book. It was deafening him, the drumbeat of her words, the drumbeat in his own chest, the vileness in his mouth made him choke. In a moment, he'd have to cry. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Just, oh God, like the weird torture.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that
summed up so, quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very succinct. It's like the most efficient way to describe somebody's mind and like state of mind ever.
And you know how he feels like he's like on this like bizarre, dark, like precipice.
It's like when you're a teenager and you just have that like weird overflow of hormones that makes you out of control and you're so fucking mad all the time that you just want to cry.
Yeah.
It's like that, but in like one huge swoop, which must be horrible.
Absolutely. Do you feel bad for him?
I do, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I felt less bad for him as time goes on, but there was a note here, about, I could just paraphrase it, but he's talking about how, he reads a lot of books on psychology, things like that, and that, his mother got mad at him one time when he was trying to explain the Oedipal complex.
Yeah.
Because he thought that maybe talking about it would help. And I was like, oh, so that one part of him really understands what's going on here and wants to fix it.
Yeah,
and that's sad.
Right. You're actually right. I didn't think about it like that at all. You're totally right. There's another moment in it where he's I think it's later in the book, and I didn't highlight it. He's talking about how he reads all these journals and things, and he said like he understands enough to realize that he could probably diagnose himself as some form of schizophrenic. And you're right, I didn't think about it, but you bringing that up, there is an awareness to him that like he would like to be better.
Yeah.
I absolutely didn't think about that.
Yeah, and that's sad.
Honestly, it never occurred to me. Like, they did throw me for a loop a couple of times. One of the ways that they I'm not going to say tricked me, but surprised me at the end was by having the doctor or psychologist explain that Norman's psychology, his personality was split in 3, not 2. I always thought of it as 2.
Me too.
Norman and Norma.
Yep.
But it's Norman, his mother Norma,
and
a young boy version of himself that speaks in very like very simple child language, thinks in very like simple ways about life and death and like good and bad and things like that.
Well,
never
he just
occurred
speaks,
to me.
I don't know if he speaks in simple ways about life and death and good and bad, the child part.
Well, no, all he did.
I think he just speaks like a little boy.
Well, he himself explained that. Norman himself, I think in the same part where he's talking about how he reads these books, says that sometimes he goes into, when he thinks about mother, he thinks like a little boy. And he explained himself that way, I think, or something like that.
No, you're right. He does. He says that he can't help himself from just being kind of like a petulant child somewhat.
Right,
he has to kind of fight that part of himself.
But I really like that. I like that he's to some degree aware. I didn't like
that they explained it as being, there's a young Norman, there's the mother Norma, and then normal. I did not like that.
I was hoping that wasn't a pun.
That was totally a pun.
It was a pun?
Norman, Norma, and normal?
Was it capitalized?
Yes.
Now, shit. Yeah, that's
terrible.
Not good. That's not good. Well, I mean, knowing...
But it's very quick. It's
knowing
not
what I know
a lasting thing.
Of the second book...
Oh, no. Does normal come up?
Oh, I don't know. But we might be headed for more sort of cornball... stuff.
I mean, I can still hang with it. But this was so good in not a cornball way that when the cornball thing came up, I was kind of like, oh, no.
It was, I guess it is good that, like, it stands out instead of being...
But I mean, I can definitely still hang with some cornball if that's what I know what I'm going into. Yeah. So that's okay.
The second one sounds like it's like campy and weird.
Yeah, it does. I read about it a little bit. Another thing in the very beginning that I thought was really interesting and made me think about, the writer himself is just knowing weird things about like that Inca tribe where they make drums out of humans.
Yeah.
That reminded me of Ed Gein. That's pretty.
Yeah, that's a book
obvious.
that Norman's reading in the beginning where he's reading about this tribe that takes humans, turns them into objects, and then will play those instruments, like instruments of people.
Yeah. And the sound comes out of their mouths and things like that. And he's kind of likening the sound in his head of being mad at his mother to the sound that comes out of the mouth of one of those human drums.
Oh my God.
I thought that was awesome.
That's amazing.
And I thought that it's really interesting that the writer knew about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that just kind of shows the sorts of just weird things that you pick up that can kind of like add to what you do as a writer.
Well, I have to wonder if like that's just the sort of thing where it's like Robert Bloch heading into this, or I mean, let's think about the climate of the time. If he had just been hearing about Ed Gein.
Yeah.
And Ed Gein was making...
Yeah, that's true. I guess he was probably researching...
He may have been reresearching it, or it may have been being likened to by alternative sources. Not to steal anything away from Robert Bloch.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have been reading like in the New York Times. Maybe they could have said like, maybe Ed Gein got his inspiration from the Inca tribe that did this.
Well, it doesn't even matter to me. I didn't think Robert Bloch was just like poring over like Inca traditions at a library in his spare time. It happened to come up. I just think it's interesting how your experience is just in life. Because I kind of figured that he probably found that out anecdotally somehow. Yeah. That can make its way into your writing.
Yeah.
Make you a better writer. Because that's such a cool, like fucked up parallel to draw.
Yeah. Yeah, it totally is. And it's perfect.
Yeah.
It is an absolutely perfect parallel.
Yeah.
Pardon the interruption. To run our show, Book Club Shmook Club needs help from our listeners. You can donate to the show by going to patreon.com/talkbomb, where you'll be able to choose a monthly donation that you feel comfortable with. As a thank you from us, you'll instantly get access to all of our bonus Between Book shows, which don't stay in our main feed. Every time a new one comes out, we bump the last one on over to Patreon. There are dozens and dozens of secret shows that you haven't had access to if you're not a donor. Doesn't that inflame your FOMO? That's fear of missing out. It's an acronym. You'll also have access to each new bonus show as it comes out, and early access to all of our book reviews. We load them onto Patreon as soon as we record them, so our donors get all of our episodes days earlier than they show up on the public feeds. Again, going to patreon.com/talkbomb and setting up a donation makes that happen, and we thank you so much for it. If you would prefer to individually purchase our bonus episodes, you can find them in our shop at talkbomb.com, where we also have stickers and bookmarks for sale. We would also really appreciate your support by leaving us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. Positive reviews help other people find our show by making podcast apps more likely to list us. It also helps validate us to people cruising around looking for something to check out. So leaving us a review is like paying it forward twofold, since it helps us and it turns someone else onto something you enjoy. And we do hope you enjoy the show, so let's get back to it.
Another parallel that I really liked that I don't think happened in the movie was that Mary, and she's Marion in the movie, but she's Mary in the book, because there were two Mary Cranes in Arizona at the time of the movie being filmed.
Oh, really?
And they didn't want there to be any lawsuits or anything, so they just changed it into Marion.
Wow, all right.
But Mary, so when Norman says to her, the famous line, "We all go a little mad sometimes," which I think is we all go a little crazy sometimes.
Yeah, I think it is.
But whatever. She thinks about it and she's like, "Yeah, I guess I went a little crazy by stealing the money at the the insurance place."
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. That's something I didn't think about before, like the parallel between her kind of relating to it a little bit.
Well, let's talk about her for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
So she works for an insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
Some guy came in and gave them, the insurance company, $40,000 in cash.
Yeah.
Her boss said to her, "Go deposit this in a bank."
Mm-hmm.
Her instant reaction was, "I should just take this money and go."
And also, as of 2013, the equivalent of that $40,000 would be $315,000.
Wow.
So
cool stat.
It's quite a chunk of change.
Pretty big matzo ball.
Yeah, not bad for old Mary Crane.
Nothing to sneeze at.
I certainly wouldn't. I'd use a hanky.
Wow. Oh my God. Do people say that? Is that a common part two to that phrase?
Yes.
It is now. Holy shit. So she wants to take the money.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to go to see her fiance, Sam Loomis.
Yep. Loomis, sound familiar?
Yeah, actually from 3 sources. Do you know?
Yes.
Counting this one.
Yeah, from this, Halloween, and Scream.
Booyah.
I'm not an idiot.
Yeah. I still want to do that, like, movie night. I still want to watch all 3 of these movies.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe not in all one night, but see if there is a connection.
Yeah.
Anyway. So she wants to take the money to her fiance,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're going to scram, baby. They're going to hit the bricks, hit the road. She sells her first car at a loss to buy a second car, sells that again to get yet a third car. And then as she's driving to go to Sam, she starts getting tired, so she pulls into the Bates Motel.
Yeah, where her fate is sealed, and her feet is sealed.
She meets Norman.
Mm-hmm.
She gets the motel room that's right beside the manager's office.
I don't think I'd want to do that, even not knowing that he's creepy.
I would want to go to the furthest one.
Me too, knowing that there's nobody else in the whole thing, and then he's going to be chilling in the room next door.
The next, like, with one wall away, yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, picture it like going to like a public bathroom.
I know.
Like, you would not take the stall next to somebody who's already in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she goes in there, her mind is just swirling because she doesn't really know what to do. Part of her
and
wants
she did it
to,
on it's just such an impulse that she didn't really think about it.
Yeah.
So she's kind of freaked out.
And now that she has a moment to think about it, she considers, like going back right now.
Mm-hmm.
She can deposit the money. No one will ever know that she did this. No one will ever know that she drove away this far. And then I think ultimately she decides.
Well, there's a part where
I'm screwing it up. This is still while she's talking to Norman. They go to have dinner in Norman's house.
Right.
Where his mom lives, where, as you explained, she suggests, like, well, you're a grown man living with your mother, and she's
because he says, like, I wish I could offer you a drink, but mother doesn't let me have any alcohol in the house.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could do this and that, but mother doesn't allow it, and she's kind of like, why are you still listening to your mother?
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, she's very sick, she gets really upset or whatever, and she's like, well, wouldn't it be better if maybe you put her in a home or something like that? And she's being, like, really nice about it.
Yeah.
And he flips out. He, like, throws a glass. He goes nuts in a way that does not happen in the movie, so I was surprised by it.
I was very surprised by it. He's a little bit different in the book.
Mm-hmm. He swings a lot more, like a lot more violently.
Is more manic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like toward the end, like evil. Like he becomes like even the Norman personality, the adult male himself.
No, he just doesn't
goes
care.
insane.
Yeah.
But, so as you explained, like when he says like we all go a little crazy sometimes, that makes her feel like what I just said, like she can go back. She can give the money to the bank and no one ever needs to know. Like she can pretend that this never happened. She hasn't contacted anybody. She hasn't really done anything. She sold her car. That's about it.
Yeah. She can still kind of undo it.
And she's still deciding when she goes back into her motel room, goes into the shower. Norman is able to lift a license plate in his office that leads to a peephole where he can see her in the bathroom.
And he sees her do a bump and grind by herself in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find that. So she's trying to decide whether she wants to keep it or not. She decides that she does. She kind of gets herself into a good mood. She's thinking about her life with Sam and everything. And it says, Mary giggled again, then executed an amateurish bump and grind, tossed her image a kiss, and received one in return. I wrote, oof.
Yeah, that's a little rough.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
Something that they said about her actually when she started to kind of feel good about herself and she was thinking about everything is that she felt 7 feet tall and she felt expansive, which I thought was a really good,
really good
description of just feeling really, really good and kind of hopeful.
Well, she is amazing just as a better parallel for Norman, that she's able to like reflect on what she's done and then try to course correct. That she's able to try to like make good for the things that she's done wrong when it seems like...
I mean, he couldn't do that. Like the things that he's done wrong, he already did. You know what I mean? So, and can't be undone. Like she could return the money, but he can't unkill somebody.
Yeah, but
he thinks he can unkill his mother. But...
He thinks he can unkill his mother, but he doesn't seem to think in such like a lucid, like A to B kind of way. Like in his mind, to me, it's more just like, I should stop acting the way that I do. Like I should reach out and get help.
Yeah.
Like she's an exercise in, she's about to cross that line into being, for the sake of argument, a bad person.
Yeah.
She's about to do something that would be considered evil or bad. And she pauses, reflects on it, and then wants to make it right.
Yeah.
He can't make it right, quote unquote, but he's capable of the reflection.
Right.
He's able to look at himself and like look at these journals. He's obsessed with like all these journals where he...
I don't know that he can though. I don't think that he has that kind of reflection really.
But then what other purpose does she serve? Like just like from a narrative standpoint, she's, to my eye, here to offer a counterpoint to what Norman does.
I didn't think that at all. I thought she was just kind of something for Norman to do.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't see that at all.
I don't know. I feel like she's supposed to be an example about how like people usually are. Like we have these, everybody has this like sort of dark side. We all go a little crazy sometimes. We think these bizarre things that we can do and accomplish,
that's a good point.
and that are sneaky and private and selfish, but we usually don't.
Yeah.
She did. But no one knows about it.
Yeah.
She can undo it, and she wants to. Whereas, now we've got Norman.
She doesn't want to, though. She thinks about it for like 1 minute and decides she doesn't want to. That's why she's all excited and she does a bump and grind at herself.
Well, even still, though, she's still showing what like a pretty normal person does. And then from there, I think that you still need to like, I don't know if this was there by this time period. I guess not. Slasher movies wouldn't come out for another decade or two.
Yeah.
But like you usually do need to have a victim that deserves it in some way.
Actually, you know what? They were, and only because again, the IMDb trivia was very rich for this one.
Yeah.
Part of the reason that he wanted to do it in black and white was that there were slasher movies that were in black and white. He wanted to see what it would be like to do a well done movie in black and white and what the reception would be like.
Gotcha. Well, in those kinds of movies, you usually need your victim to be somebody that the audience can get behind deserving it.
Yeah.
To some degree.
Yeah.
And like her like crime is lightweight, obviously, but I guess you still need somebody that you're like, well, she was being
she did do something bad.
You need to be able to rationalize it. But she still is a character that like you're able to like associate with and go like, I maybe I would feel that way, but then I wouldn't do
that
it.
if somebody put $40,000 on my desk.
Against Norman, who seems like he could maybe be capable of that introspection, but ultimately doesn't do it or can't do it or is held back from doing it for some reason. Therefore, he's fucking psycho.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's the opposite of the normal human ability to hit like the undo.
Yeah, that makes sense. I hadn't thought of that before.
I mean, that's why in the movie, there are kind of two twists, if my memory of the movie is right. Mm-hmm. The movie opens with Mary and Crane getting the money.
Yeah.
And, like stealing it and going on the road. And then she just kind of happens to go to the Bates Motel.
Right.
Versus the book that opens with Norman.
Right.
So in the movie, we think she's the main character. Mm-hmm. If you're going to view it as somebody that doesn't already know the story.
Yeah.
You think that
it might be about her on the run.
Exactly. You think that she's going to be the person you're going to follow for the next 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And then she suddenly gets killed. Mm-hmm. That's the twist. And now we're kind of following Norman.
Right.
I feel like that's kind of why. Like, the sort of normal drama gets interrupted by somebody that's something else.
Yeah.
You know, I think that he's supposed to stand out against what is relatively...
I think that's definitely true.
Yeah.
Because he's just completely different than everybody else in the movie.
He's completely impossible. Yeah. All right. But so anyway. So he actually, in the book... when he blacks out, he's looking at her through the peephole. He blacks out, and then Mother comes into the bathroom and stabs her and cuts off her head.
I know.
Surprising.
Yeah. I did not know that was going to happen.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Hardcore.
Yeah, way hardcore.
Also, it's a shower stall, not a bathtub.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Weird.
I know.
Okay.
So I wrote that the famous moment wouldn't be able to happen based on the book.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because she, falls over the edge of the bathtub and everything. And if she's in a shower stall, she's kind of be like, in there like a phone booth.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So Norman comes to.
I also took a note of him when he's drinking. He said, nobody could look at and see him opening the desk drawer and pulling out the bottle. His hands trembling like a baby's. Baby needs his bottle. Ugh.
That's not good.
I think that's a little boy Norman coming out a little bit.
I guess so.
It's also awesome when he's looking at her through the peephole and thinking about her, and about her kind of critiquing him a little bit and thinking that he could go out on his own. He says that's the way girls were. They always laughed because they were bitches.
Oh,
and he keeps talking about how women are bitches and stuff, and that they're all the same. He doesn't say they're all the same explicitly, but he's just talking about them as a group. Women are bitches. Women tease you. Women are naked and they're dirty and they want you to do things to them, but they don't really want you to do them, and they're bitches.
Yeah, he's getting himself so worked up.
Yeah.
And he needs to objectify them.
Yep.
Actually, even
he does that with the dead bodies too. He only calls them it or
thing.
Yeah.
Norman sighed and shook his head. He couldn't afford the risk, not while that thing was still sprawled in the shower stall back at the motel. Mm-hmm. That thing.
Yep.
He
says the same thing about Arbogast when he kills him. He says that it's in the hall on the carpet or something like that.
Which is just it feels disgusting to read.
Totally. And it's just such a big sign of his detachment from everything. That's not like a person, that's a thing or
that's just a thing. Now. Yeah.
And also before his mother went into the room to kill Mary, she comes into the office and she kind of sees him. He kind of sees her before he falls asleep. And, she says something to him. And then what's written is whenever he needed her, mother was there and now he could sleep. There was no trick to it at all. You merely went into the roaring and then past the roaring. Then everything was silent. And then that's, I guess, when he passes out, wakes up as Mother.
Yeah, I guess
and then goes in and kills her. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was
talking
really
about
cool.
because he was talking about the roaring in his head. I didn't excerpt that part, but saying that you go into the roaring is kind of awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Just into the maelstrom of his mind, and then something else comes out of it.
Yeah.
And so he cleans up the body. He puts it in a giant hamper. Mm-hmm. And then
no, it's not even giant. It's just a hamper. He says he had to fold the limbs on themselves and stuff to stuff her in there.
Ugh.
And that the head was the worst part.
Yeah. Oh, that's a nightmare.
I know.
Actually, the worst part for him was cleaning up the room when he had to touch her bra and panties.
Yes. He said that his stomach turned or something like that.
Yeah. That was the part that almost pushed him over the edge.
Right. He said that it almost made him throw up or something like that.
Yeah, completely
because he's just so repressed and weird about everything.
Very bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
So now that she's dead, he pushes her car into a swamp.
Yeah.
He has to stand there and wait and watch as every inch of it gets buried a little bit more and more and more by the mud.
Yeah.
And then he decides that he's going to have to come back in the morning and drive that same trail to cover up the evidence.
Right.
And then he goes home and he sees his mother's clothes in a lump in her room.
Oh, yeah, with blood all over them and everything.
Yeah, so he's like, oh my God, so she ran away. Yeah. And now he's worried about her and he's worried about her out there being on the street and trying to get away.
And he's trying to decide what he should do, like whether he should go find her and what if she tells somebody what she did. And, you know, but he's like, she'll sound too crazy. No one would believe her anyway. But then he's just too exhausted. So he just lies down and goes to sleep. Yeah. And I guess just when he wakes up, she's there or something like that.
I guess so. Yeah. So then the plot continues from there that Mary's sister Lila drives into Fairvale, whatever, the town, and goes to Sam, Mary's fiance, to talk about Mary, who now has been missing for a week. We jump ahead a week. Then Detective Arbogast shows up, and he says that
he's been following Lila, and he followed her there, and he knows about Sam being Mary's fiance, and he thinks that Mary is with Sam.
Yes.
Or at least in the town.
Or wanted to be with him because she stole the money and they can go away together.
Well, initially he suspects that she's with Sam. He comes in and he's kind of like guns blazing and thinks that she's there or Sam knows where she is and that she stole the money so that they could have it together. Right. But then he pretty quickly realizes that they have no idea what's going on. Yeah. So he believes them pretty fast.
I really liked the sort of weird tense team up with the three of them.
Yeah, I did too.
It actually, I don't even know. What decade does this take place in?
I think the 60s.
It's the 60s?
I think so.
It really felt like, for some reason in my head, and it's probably most of it's only because of me just not being aware, I thought it was like the 40s for a while. Because
it's definitely, I mean, maybe the 50s, but I think it's like the 60s.
Because like
early 60s.
I just kept picturing like Detective Arbogast as having like that sort of like Columbo fedora and trench coat.
Well, you know, in the Gus Van Sant movie, he does.
Maybe that's why.
Not a trench coat, but he has a fedora.
Maybe that's why.
But in the book, he's described as having like a Stetson hat, like a cowboy hat.
I didn't know what a Stetson was.
Yeah, it's a cowboy hat.
I just assumed it was a fedora, actually.
No.
Okay, fair enough. But like,
unless Stetson also made fedoras, which I guess could be. But
yeah, I guess it's just a brand.
Nah, it's a cowboy hat. Okay, it's a cowboy thing. Yeah.
But the way that the three characters spoke together, Sam, Arbogast, and Lila, it was always like all three of them are pretty mistrustful of
each other because they don't know each other really.
But they form a pretty solid
triumvirate. Is that the word?
Yeah, like they do kind of all team up to try to find out what's going on with Mary. Arbogast has been traveling all over town. He's been looking at like every hotel, every motel. Yeah. Like every place that he could possibly think. Yeah, that's right.
Hotel, motel, Holiday Inn. You don't know that? Okay, never mind.
You're so cool and young. But he hasn't really found any trace of her. And so now he's going to go to this one last place. It's a little place sort of off the map. Yeah. A little place called the Bates Motel.
Hey, stop in.
You may not stop out.
The linens are fresh.
Oh.
Big draw.
But something is dirty.
I think something's rotten in the state of Denmark.
Yeah, right?
in the Bates house.
But he convinces Lila and Sam to wait while he goes to check out the Bates Motel. Yeah. He says, give me 24 hours. If I don't find anything there, since that's my last place to check, we're going to go to the cops. They wait 24 hours. Basically the last possible second.
Yeah, because the insurance company doesn't want any bad publicity, and also then maybe Mary can just give back the money and not have any criminal charges or anything. So it makes sense.
Yeah. So basically the last possible second, like Sam and Lila are now counting the minutes. It's almost 24 hours. Arbogast finally calls. He says that he pulled into the Bates Motel. He saw the proprietor, Norman. He saw the proprietor's mother looking out at him from a window as he pulled up.
I don't know about that.
And spoke to Norman, who told the story, and it turns out Mary had dinner with Norman back in Norman's house. He just wants to question the mother. Yeah. So give me another.
But Norman was super squirrely about it. At first he said that, nobody had been there in weeks. Yeah. And then he said that, maybe somebody had come. And then he said that she came, but she just went into her room and then left in the morning. Right. And then he kind of accidentally said that they had dinner together. So.
And had to almost bite his tongue about it. Yeah. And then reluctantly allow Arbogast to interview his mother. Right. So now Sam and Lila are going to give Arbogast another hour.
Actually, I don't think he was going to even allow him. I think Arbogast was just going to go up there.
Well, as Norman said to Arbogast, he goes, let me just go tell her that you're coming in so that it's not like you're just barging in. Let me prepare her. So Norman goes into the house to go tell Mother. And he goes into her room
wig.
And he has a conversation with her. And she's saying shit, what did she say? She's like, I'll take care of this. I can do this myself.
Yeah.
And then she goes into the next room and she starts putting on her makeup and her lipstick, getting ready. And then he like
there was also a part where they said, I think it was when he was killing Mary. She said it was like a very powdered face and overly rouged cheeks.
Yeah. Terrifying.
On like a man.
Yeah.
Ugh.
On like a chubby little guy that like the nightgown he pulls on is too tight.
Oh God.
Me in a too tight nightgown. Rouge in my beard.
The parallels are there.
Oh no. Mommy. Mother. So he sees her.
What does my upstairs neighbor think?
These guys are wackos.
Yeah. What is going on in 43A?
These guys are bonkos. So he sees her getting ready, and then they're at the top of the stairs, and there's a knock at the door, which is Arbogast wanting to come in.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to like Arbogast's point of view. Ugh. And they haven't revealed that Norman is his mother yet. So they cut to Arbogast's point of view as it's like he walks into the room, sees the figure coming at him. Like,
of an old, even that's scary. Of an old woman,
it's so scary.
Holding a butcher knife, even what it isn't, and it is still really scary.
It's so perfect because it's just like you wouldn't be able to believe your eyes.
Like, no. You would be so disoriented.
You wouldn't.
You think you think you're going to interview an old woman.
Okay,
it's this guy's mother.
Okay, yeah, this guy who runs this motel.
Right.
He says he's going to go talk to his mother.
I'm going to go talk to my mom. She'll come down. She'll talk to you.
Okay, great.
You walk in.
Hello?
It's that guy with a ton of white powder on his face, big puffballs of pink on his chubby cheeks, and lipstick, and like a tight nightie. And I assume
wig. Smiling in some mischievous way. Or just looking full of rage.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Any of it. And you're just
so scary.
You're just a deer in headlights. You're just frozen.
Right.
You got nothing. I wasn't prepared.
No.
My last words would be, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't ready.
This is the last thing I expected.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know what I would lose my mind.
Me too.
Like in that last split second.
He wouldn't even have to kill me. I'd probably just disintegrate from fear.
By my perception, like those last, like that second and a half that Norman dressed as his mother is rushing toward me would feel like an eternity.
Oh, definitely.
Wherein I'm like, this guy has been dressing like his mother the whole time. And in that eternal 1.5 seconds.
It was this that I saw in the...
Oh, yeah, you're like, this is...
In the window.
No, not even that, because you saw Norman a second later, so you're like, maybe it was his mother's corpse. Like, that's the best you can reason.
Yeah, I guess
so, like,
right.
In that last...
I don't know. I don't think I'd figure that out that fast.
Well, you just... All right, maybe you wouldn't even be able to think of it. You just see a flash of that, and Norman at the desk, and then Norman as his mother.
It all spliced together.
And then... madness. Like, you lose your... Like, if you survived that encounter...
It probably didn't even hurt.
If you survived that encounter,
went mad.
You'd be in an asylum for the rest of your life.
God, yeah.
Insanely frightening. That's me in an insane asylum.
I gotta tell you, it doesn't sound that bad. It sounds like you're having a good time.
Will, you have a visitor. Are you feeling up to it?
Yeah.
I've gone to the loony bin.
Sound like Goofy.
A bunch of Tweety birds around my head.
Yeah. I would never visit you.
Oh my God.
Sounds terrible.
I wouldn't even know if you did.
Yeah, that's true. It wouldn't make a difference.
So Arbogast is
his life's
out of the picture.
His life sucked.
Yeah, that stinks.
That Stetson hat's blown in the wind.
Stetson hat's it's tumbleweeding down the road. Norman does essentially the exact same thing he did with Mary with him. Yeah. Rolls his car into the swamp. Mm-hmm. So now Sam and Lila take it upon themselves. Now time has passed even further. They go, this was the awesome part. I loved this. They go to the sheriff of Fairvale. Mm-hmm. And they're talking about they tell him everything. They say everything that Lila did. They talk about Arbogast on her trail, about giving him the 24 hours to go to the Bates Motel, about having last heard from him when he told them, I'm going to go interview this old lady. Mm-hmm. The sheriff of the town explains, well, here's my thought process. Arbogast was probably following Mary right off the bat, knowing that he could track her down, get the money back from her, and then run away himself.
Right.
He's probably been playing you this whole time to get information about where she went, so he could find her, get the money, and live the sweet life with his honey.
Sure.
So he goes to the Bates Motel. He meets Norman. Norman tells the guy, oh, she went to Chicago. And then he calls you guys, says, give me more time. I'm going to interview this old lady. But what he really does is just go to Chicago. He's been lying to you this whole time. Arbogast wanted Mary's money. Mm-hmm. He's been lying to you this whole time anyway. And they go, what do you mean? And he goes, he said that he was going to interview Norman's mother. Norman's mother has been dead for 20 years.
Dun, dun, dun.
And they, what? No, that's not possible. And then the story comes out.
Yeah.
Norman's mother lived with a guy,
Uncle Joe Considine.
Yeah, Uncle Joe Considine.
Or John? It doesn't matter.
Uncle John.
Okay.
Uncle John Considine.
Yep, that's better.
They ran the motel together, the motel. Mm-hmm. He's the one that convinced her to build a motel. It used to be farms. Anyway, they were in love. She ended up leaving a suicide note. The two of them laid down in bed and drank strychnine-laced tea together, committed suicide, died. Mm-hmm. Norman, the son, saw the whole thing.
Isn't that neat and tidy?
Yeah. But you know what? Me, the sheriff, I know Norman. Like, I'll call him. He's on the phone with Norman. Norman explains on the other end. Yeah, I don't know. It's the same thing I've been saying the whole time.
Yeah.
Mary comes in, signs her name in the ledger with a fake name, says something about Chicago, leaves. Arbogast comes, asks about her. I say Chicago. He leaves. That's all I know. Mm-hmm. So the sheriff goes, yeah, I mean, there's nothing more to it than that. They're both on their way to Chicago right now. So now Lila and Sam decide to take matters into their own hands, go to the Bates Motel.
Which I wished, actually. So he says the thing about Norman's mother being dead. You're like, oh shit. I wish the next chapter had been back to Norman and his mother, with you now knowing that they are that they're the same thing.
Well, what they do, they still play it a little bit longer, because from then on, Norman keeps talking about how like I think the sheriff actually goes down there at one point.
He does, and he comes back and he's just like, yeah, no, everything's fine.
Everything's fine. Like, he even keeps his mother's room the way that it has always been. He explained, like, I don't have use for the room, so I basically just don't touch it.
Right.
From that moment on, Norman just keeps going like, they think you're dead, mother. Mm-hmm. The sheriff thinks that you died. Like, I'm the only one that knows that you actually survived. And he refers to, like, if they come snooping around about Mary and Arbogast, they might find out about this 20-year-old lie in his own mind, being that you died, mother.
Right.
They don't know that you're alive. Mm-hmm. So now that Sam and Lila go to the Bates Motel, they check in as husband and wife.
Right.
And then shit gets infinitely more awesome. It gets so frighteningly awesome because we're in Norman's mind. We're following Norman as Sam and Lila are checking in. And as they sign their ledger, he just keeps saying, like, to himself, like, you liars, you dirty liars. Mm-hmm. He can read their names as they're writing them. Even though he's reading upside down, he can read their names.
And he recognizes her off the bat because she looks so much like Mary that actually when she comes to the door and Sam answers, he kisses her automatically because he assumes that it's Mary. And somehow he's like, oh, God, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So as soon as Norman sees her, he actually freaks out and he's kind of like, oh my God, this can't be. How could that happen?
She came walking out of the swamp.
And then he realizes and he's like, oh no, her hair is lighter. She's not as chubby, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because they describe her build. It was like 120 pounds and 5'7". And I was like, chubby.
Different time.
Yeah. But yeah, so, he figures it out like right away that they're there to find out about the girl.
And he had been drinking, I think, was also part of the thing. So like he's switched into like hyper awareness this whole time. So as he's reading their handwriting upside down and like in his own mind, constantly referring to them as like dirty liars. Yeah. And he notices that Lila looks at where her sister had signed the ledger and sees the motel number where she had stayed written next to it. They request that room. And he just constantly is like, I know what you're here for. Yeah. He never says any of this, obviously. The entire time he's just like, yeah, sure, what room do you want? Do you want number 1? That's at the far end. They say no, they want 6 right beside him. And he goes, are you sure 6 has a broken fan? They're like, yeah, that's fine. We don't need the fan. So he's still like, in my mind, the way that I'm picturing him, he is not nervous at all.
No.
Like, completely counter to the way that he has been in the entire book so far, which is like, sort of like a shaky, almost like a bumbling kind of fool. Now he's just like all fucking like frightening, crackling energy and awareness.
Well, I think there is something about when something happens that you knew was inevitable and it just kind of happens, then you just kind of kick into survival mode.
True.
And it's like, all right, well, I have to do this thing. Now it's here.
As a matter of fact, you're right. Like, he does describe, he's like, they came, you know, when I killed her, or when Mother killed Mary, I was given a week. A week later, someone came snooping around. Now that Arbogast is dead, someone's going to come looking for him.
Right.
It may happen today. Could happen tomorrow. All I got was a week with Mary. It's going to happen at some point, though. You're right. There was some sort of, he had this idea of the inevitable in his mind, and now he's here.
So it's like, now it's here. And, you know, I feel like there's also some sort of rush from not having to wait for it anymore.
Yeah, and like being able to just like rise to the occasion and take care of things.
Yeah, totally. So,
and he also a level of just like, so this is what it's been all about.
Right.
Because he didn't know
what the deal was with her. Like, he just thought he killed some girl.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's a detective coming around. It doesn't seem to, you know, really find out who killed her. They want to know what the deal is with her.
Because of the money.
And he was like, well, what'd she do? You know, he like really didn't know what was happening.
Yeah. So now he knows, like, once he pieces it together that this must be Mary's sister, he's like, so this is why.
Yeah.
This is why it's all been going on. So he's also got,
and that also gives him more power because he actually does know the whole story now.
Yes. Now he's got it all together.
Yeah.
And so,
in a way that they don't.
He watches them through that same peephole behind the license plate in his office. And they're talking about, how they need to go up to the house. And Sam is saying, no, like, don't go up there. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to talk to him a little bit. We're going to see what we can learn, and we're going to talk to the sheriff again.
Yeah.
And she's saying, like, no, we need to go up to the house. Like, Lila is all, I actually really enjoyed her character.
I actually thought she was annoying.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. She just bugged me. I get it. I would probably be the same way, but I found her annoying.
I thought that she was a startlingly strong character.
I don't know. I found her irritating.
As they explain, well, all right. So what ends up happening? They end up leaving the room again. Norman goes behind his desk and he wants to reach for his bottle of whiskey to drink from it, but like they're too close, so he has to like put the bottle down. Lila gets in her car. Well,
he's already been drinking.
Well, yeah, but he wanted to take another sip, but didn't have time.
Yeah.
In the beat that it took from them to get from their room to his office. Lila gets in her car, starts to drive off down the road. Norman's watching her as Sam walks into the office, and they start just kind of talking.
Yeah. And it's totally awesome. They're describing how the lights aren't on. Yeah. And it's getting gradually darker and darker because there's a storm outside and there's thunder and stuff like that.
Yeah. Norman says that he can see like the dark clouds coming. And then oh my God, I just want to find the passage of the book.
Yeah.
Where Norman starts like, almost like soliloquizing. Is that a word?
I don't know.
Soliloquy.
I mean, you can figure out what that is.
You know what I mean?
He's doing a soliloquy.
He's doing a soliloquy. He is explaining somewhat what has happened in the past.
Yeah. It's almost like a classic Bond villain thing where they're like, finally, Bond, you made it.
Oh, except amazing.
All this time I've been doing, but it's way more interesting because it's explaining like his wacko thought process and everything. So it's just kind of, it's not him like patting himself on the back by explaining it to the good guy. It's really him just like kind of talking about what his experience is, and his experience is having done all this crazy shit.
And also, to some degree, it's almost just like laying bare what they both already know.
Yeah, totally.
Like there's this pretense being played that Sam is like
just a guy
part
who
of a married
stopped at a
couple.
motel.
Yeah, exactly. So Norman is almost just like,
why don't we lay our cards on the table?
Yeah, why don't we just be honest here? So here we go. Norman goes, I like the sound of the rain. I like the way it comes down. It's exciting. Sam says, I never thought of it in that way. I guess you can use a little excitement around here. I don't know. We get our share. We? Sam says. I thought you said you live here alone. I said I operated the motel alone, but it belongs to both of us. My mother and me. Sam almost choked on the whiskey. Because to him, all he knows is the sheriff told him that Norman's mother is dead. They were under the assumption that he was lying to Arbogast. When Arbogast said, like, I'm going to interview this guy's mother. They thought that Norman lied to Arbogast. Right. So he thought.
Or no, they thought Arbogast was lying or something.
They thought Arbogast, well, it was brought to their attention that maybe Arbogast was lying to them. They think that Norman lied to Arbogast.
Okay. Yeah.
And said that his mother is here. When actually his mother is dead. So now, Norman saying this to Sam is like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Sam almost choked on the whiskey. He lowered the glass, clenching it tightly in his fist. I didn't know. And then he gets interrupted. Of course not. How could you? Nobody does. That's because she always stays in the house. She has to. She has to stay there. You see, most people think she's dead.
Mm-hmm.
The voice was calm. Sam couldn't see Bates's face in the dimness now, but he knew it was calm too. Actually, there is excitement around here after all, like there was 20 years ago, when Mother and Uncle Joe Considine drank the poison. I called the sheriff and he came out and found them. Mother left a note explaining everything. Then they had an inquest, but I didn't go to it. I was sick, very sick. They took me to the hospital. I was in the hospital a long time. Almost too long to do any good when I got out, but I managed. And then managed? Bates didn't reply, but Sam heard the gurgle and then the bottle's thump. Here, Bates said, let me pour you another. Not yet. I insist. He was coming around the counter now, and his shadowy bulk loomed over Sam. He reached for Sam's glass. Sam drew back. First, tell me the rest, he said quickly. Bates halted. Oh, yes. I brought Mother back home with me. That was the exciting part, you see. Going out to the cemetery at night and digging up the grave. She'd been shut up in that coffin for such a long time that at first I thought she really was dead. But she wasn't, of course. She couldn't be, or else she wouldn't have been able to communicate with me when I was in the hospital all that while. Which is like even that, you're like, there's so many weird things going on. Like, I don't even have time to
see him.
Yeah,
he can't see his face when he's telling him this story.
Yeah, but even when you're like, all right, you think your mother's alive, but she was communicating with you from far away.
Being buried.
I don't even have time to dwell on that part of it.
Let's just move on.
It was only a trance state, really, what we call suspended animation. I know how to revive her. There are ways, you know, even if some folks call it magic. Magic, that's just a label, you know, completely meaningless. It wasn't so very long ago that people were saying that electricity was magic. Actually, it's a force which can be harnessed if you know the secret. Life is a force, too, a vital force. And like electricity, you can turn it on and off and on. I'd turned it off, and I knew how to turn it on again. Do you understand me? Just like this, Yes, it's very interesting. I thought you might be interested. You and the young lady. She isn't really your wife, is she? Just like fucking.
Well, we're just gonna lay all this shit out.
You've got all the cards right now.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, Mr. Bates.
Yeah.
It seems like you got quite a bit of knowledge on the situation.
Yep.
Over me. While this is going on, Norman goes like, oh, you know what? I can just read it because it's happening right here. You see, I know more than you think I know, and more than you know yourself. Mr. Bates, are you quite sure you're all right? I mean, I know what you mean.
Yeah. I know what you mean, Jocko.
I know what you're bringing to me, Conco. Is that what you said, Conco?
I said Jocko.
Jocko. You come in here with your wife and your jockey strap, and you think you've got me?
I got you.
I got you, Busteroni with cheese. You think I'm drunk, don't you? But I wasn't drunk when you came here. I wasn't drunk when you found that earring, because there was an earring from Mary being murdered, and told that young lady to go to the sheriff. Sit still. Don't be alarmed. I'm not alarmed, am I?
No, you seem totally fine and cool.
You seem cool, right?
Yeah.
Don't I seem completely comfortable and normal?
Right.
Trying not to look in his eyes like he's a fucking bear or something. And I wouldn't be if anything was wrong. But nothing is wrong.
So I feel totally fine.
So I'm great. So I'm normal. So I'm totally fine. So I feel fine. You don't think I'd tell you that this if there was anything wrong, do you? The fat man paused. Me.
Yes.
No. I waited until I saw her drive up the road. I waited until I saw her stop. Stop? Sam tried to find the face in the darkness, but all he could hear was the voice. Yes. You didn't know that she stopped the car, did you? You thought she went on to get the sheriff the way you told her, but she has a mind of her own. Remember what she wanted to do? She wanted to take a look at the house, and that's what she did do. That's where she is now. Let me out of here. Of course, I'm not hindering you. It's just that I thought you might like another drink while I told you the rest about Mother. The reason I thought you might like to know is because of the girl. She'll be meeting Mother now.
Ugh.
Sam rose swiftly, and the blurred bulk fell back. You don't want another drink, then? Bates' voice sounded petulantly over his mother. Very well, have it your own way. He then cracks a whiskey bottle over Sam's head.
Yep.
Knocking him out. Sam's woken later by the sheriff and explains to the sheriff, and this part was weird to me, he explains to the sheriff, we have to help her. She's gone to the house. She's in there alone with Bates and his mother.
Yeah.
He was he says that. He says she's in the house with Bates and his mother.
Maybe just so much happened and he's so disoriented that...
Right, yeah.
You know.
He's just like...
the guy keeps referring to his mother as a separate entity.
But
he
also said that he revived her with magic.
True. Yeah, I don't know. That is weird.
Like, I just don't... But you're right. It could be enough that, like, Sam is like, I got hit on the head with a bottle.
It's all tripping you up, you know?
Yeah, and for the sake of maybe just, like, the conservation of energy, just say to the sheriff, like, we need to get her. Yeah. She's in there with Norman and his mother.
When I say Norman and his mother, you inherently know I mean just Norman, correct?
Right, sir? Yeah, instead of
That's
having
what
to go
we all understand.
Instead of having to go that extra step, just let's get to the house. Maybe you're right.
The timeline does seem weird, though. It seems like Norm would have done more with Lila by that time.
What do you mean?
If Sam was cracked over the head, passed out, woke up because the sheriff came, would Norman have had time to run into the house and fuck up Lila first? So that part got a little wishy-washy to me.
Well, I mean, I guess here's what I can equate it to. Bobby got in a car accident like 5 years ago, something like that. And he told me that when it happened, the airbag came out, and the moment that it hit his face, he thought he was dead.
Yeah.
He thought that like it was just all done. His brain was scrambled for a few seconds. And like when he looked up, like the other guy in the other car was like running toward him, going like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
And so realistically, he knew that only seconds had passed. But for him, it was like it was like he had gone to bed and woken up the next day.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the same kind of thing. He's cracked on the back of the head with a whiskey bottle.
It's immediate that the sheriff came up.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
because you're right. The timeline doesn't work otherwise because what Lila's doing. And here's why I was saying why she's such a strong character. She's going through the house.
I think she's a strong character. I wouldn't argue with that. I just find her irritating.
I don't know. I was really into her.
Yeah,
because she's going through the house and she's going through each individual room. She sees Norman's room. It's basically just
Norman's room. With his nightgowns?
Yeah, he has a drawer of nightgowns.
Oh, God. And pictures of himself as a little boy.
Well, when you say that, I mean...
What? That is what they were.
Yeah, I know, but it's not... You say that as if it's like some... the way you said that, it's almost like... He dresses up like his mother, and he dresses like a little boy. Like I thought you meant.
No, he has photographs of himself as a little boy on the walls.
Him dressed like in that like weird like schoolboy uniform that Donald Duck wears, looking a big lollipop.
With suspenders.
Big pudgy 40-year-old man.
Like Dudley.
Carrying one of those books with a belt. Wrapped around
like
it. Like
me when I was dressed as an American Girl doll.
Exactly. Yeah. If somebody found pictures of you like that,
they're like, "Oh God, what horrors have transpired within these walls?"
She must be a mad woman.
True, they wouldn't be far off.
You know, I mean, it's semi-normal to have a picture of yourself as a kid somewhere.
In this context, it's weird.
In this context, everything is fucking weird.
William, I think it would be weird if in your room, if you lived by yourself, the artwork that you had on your walls were 2 pictures of yourself as a little boy. I would think that was weird right now.
Fair enough.
That's strange.
It's kind of weird to me that people hang pictures of themselves in their house anyway.
It's a little weird.
They live there.
Yeah, I know.
You can see the people you know.
Yeah, but I guess if, it's a really nice picture that you like,
I guess. I don't know. It's a little strange.
Yeah.
That on every wall in your house, there's a picture of your own face looking back at you.
Right. It is weird.
Like if you lived in the world of Harry Potter, would you have pictures of your family on the wall so that like they're constantly like,
no, I would
again.
I would have nothing with those moving pictures. I wouldn't have a one.
Oh God, I'd
only have like a countryside so that the wind blows through the wheat very beautifully.
I would have a guest bathroom that only you're allowed to use, and it's only pictures of you in there.
No!
So they're all just like judging you.
Then I would become a mad woman.
And they're all just kind of like, oh God.
She's doing it again.
What a horrible world. What a miserable existence. Do they feel those paintings? Do they have lives?
They seem like they do, because they'll, sometimes they're not there.
They talk to each other. They can walk into other people's paintings and be like, hi, how are you?
Right. And, you can catch just an empty frame because they're out doing something.
Can they be revolted by you?
Yes.
How about this? Actually, this is weird.
Uh-huh.
I would say this for a Harry Potter show, but I know I won't remember this.
Uh-huh.
If I got like a maiden form, one of those dress forms. What's a maiden? What? I use a wrong term.
Maiden form is a brand of bras.
Brand of bras? I got like a nice like maiden
So if
form.
you got a maiden form, you mean if you got yourself a bra?
Look what I got.
Or a bro.
Drinking out of these cups.
You just mean a dress form.
I just mean a dress form.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a dress form and like mannequin legs and a mannequin head and mannequin arms and shit.
Ugh.
And then I painted a person on it
Yeah.
in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Would that be a person?
What? No, why?
Do you know what I mean? Because they're on canvas.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Do you see what I mean?
I was picturing one without a head because dress forms don't usually have heads.
No. I said I think I said a head.
I don't know.
I hope I said a head.
I'm not sure.
But yeah, like if I had a giant canvas person.
Yeah, I guess so.
It would be like...
You probably have to do some sort of special spell for you to animate it so it could use its arms and legs and shit.
Probably. But could it live? Could it have a life? Bobby dies. Bobby's dead. But I want to keep doing Will and Bobby Know Everything.
Right.
So I paint a life-size Bobby.
Wait, that's why you bring Bobby back so you can keep doing Will and Bobby Know Everything, not so you can have your friend back?
I have no other use for him. Good point. That would also be a weird thing. Like, Bobby lives an hour away.
Right.
I see Bobby once a week.
Right.
I would love to hang out with Bobby. I wish Bobby lived here. I tell him all the time.
I know.
If I painted a Bobby of my own so that I can hang out with Bobby during the week.
That's basically Norman with his mother.
Basically.
Yeah.
What would real Bobby think? But it's in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Wait, this is fucking me up.
Do you know what I'm saying?
So, are you talking about you're not talking about you right now yourself in this world?
If we were wizards, yes. If this were a world where magic is real.
But we're not at Hogwarts right now, so we can't do magic.
But we're wizards. We're grown-up wizards. We've previously gone to Hogwarts.
Okay.
And then Bobby ended up working an hour away from me. I only see him once a week. I'd like to see him more.
Sure.
So I hang a painting of him in my house.
Yeah, that works.
And I can talk to the painting.
Yeah, that works fine.
That's not psychotic and weird?
It's totally psychotic and weird, but it works just fine.
Bobby wouldn't find that weird?
Because you can kind of talk to the Sirius Black painting, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But like the actual person wouldn't find it weird that I'm using a surrogate or a substitute?
Yeah, ask Bobby about that.
Very
Hard to
strange.
say. Bobby's kind of weird, so he might be fine with it.
I gotta try to earmark.
He doesn't want to talk to you all day.
Gotta try to bookmark this part of the podcast to bring up later.
It'd probably be doing him a favor.
All right, anyway.
Hear your incessant yapping.
Cool at you. All right, so back to Norman Bates. She goes, Lila's going through the house. She sees his bedroom. She sees Mother's room and describes it as a room that is alive.
Yep.
Meaning that it is not like dusty and worn.
Right.
And old.
It's being used.
Yes. Someone currently lives in there.
Yeah.
She, this disgusted me. This grossed me out.
The indentation in the bed.
And
gray and brown flecks.
Yes. Presumably the skin of Mother in the bed. So now she's walking through the house. She decides to go to the basement for some reason. I don't remember why. Oh, because she thinks that maybe Mary is being kept alive in the basement, being tortured. Goes to the basement, not realizing that Norman has hidden Mother in the sub-basement.
The fruit cellar.
Yeah, the fruit cellar. So it's like a further basement. Like you go into the basement, then there's a separate entrance to a further basement, the fruit cellar.
Yeah.
He's hung a tapestry over the door. So now Lila is walking around through there, constantly thinking to herself, like, every time that I tried to get help, people ignored me. Like, people only wanted what they wanted.
Yeah.
You know, like, Arbogast wanted to just find Mary to get the money. The sheriff only wanted to, like, make sure that peace was kept and everything was civil and everything. And she's like, I had to do everything myself.
Yeah.
Which I really liked. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's a good point.
So she's in the basement. She hears someone come in. She describes it as somebody tiptoeing upstairs, which revolted me.
Yeah, totally.
Like a lurching feeling.
Yes.
Of just like, that just means that there's a pudgy middle-aged man
tiptoeing
trying
around.
to creep and be gentle upstairs to be quiet because he knows.
Yeah.
Oh, God. And presumably he's just going to his room to get a nightgown to put on.
Right.
To squeeze over his fat body.
She also says once he's in the nightgown that he minced down the stairs.
Yeah. Oh, just so...
Everything is ladylike and dainty.
And like very skin crawling.
Right.
So she grabs the only thing she can see to hide under, which is the tapestry on the wall. And then realizes that there's a door
behind the tapestry
hidden there. Pulls it open. And then sees it's described as like an old brown leathery face looking at her. She says, Mrs. Bates, and hears back, yes, but from behind her, because as you said, Norman is mincing down the stairs. And I think he's like, no. Like,
basically.
like a luxurious, like a fancy lady, or do you think he's just like?
I think mincing is just another word for like tiptoeing and like kind of letting your hips wiggle a little bit.
You think so?
Yes.
See, I don't know. I guess sometimes in my head, I picture him one of two ways. That where he's like ladylike and hip swivelly and shit, and another where he's just a man.
Yeah.
Like a frightening brute strength animal.
I think it's both.
In a nightgown.
Yeah.
And he just wants to fucking kill you.
Totally.
And other times where he's a lady.
Yeah.
So
I think the twain can meet.
But yeah, I guess so. So she sees him. Mm-hmm. He basically gets instantly tackled by Sam.
Yeah.
And then they cut.
I think, they cut and Sam wakes up and the sheriff is talking to him about what happened.
Yeah. And so then that's everything that we've discussed earlier. There's a doctor talking about how Norman's psyche is split between the mother, the young child son, and the adult man who basically wants to like keep the peace and like make sure that everything is okay.
Right.
Which is the guy that Lila feels bad for. Mm-hmm. The doctor then explains that it seems like everything has settled and one personality has won out, which even reading it, I expected to cut to adult man Norman going like, I shouldn't have done this. I kept telling her, don't do this. Yeah. Something like that. I kept telling mother, to be quiet and stay still or something. But the personality that won out is Norma Bates, his mother. Yeah. Who explains, like you said, maybe if I just sit still. Yeah, they'll see that I'm perfectly sane. There's no reason to be afraid of me. I didn't do anything wrong, because why would I? Look, there's a fly on me. I wouldn't even hurt this fly. I wouldn't even hurt a fly. Which I think is the final line of the original movie, and I guess probably the remake. It is. Absolutely amazing. Yep. Mind-blowing. Everybody should read this if you didn't already. Absolutely. And it's really short. It's only 200 pages. You can read it in like 2 seconds. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, it's so worth it. You can grind through this book in a couple of hours if you do it earnestly. Yeah. Amazing. Yep. One of those books that like when you pass that final page, one of those books where you almost like heave a sigh of relief and like satisfaction of like, that was fucking amazing. Yeah, totally. I was blown away. I enjoyed every goddamn minute of this book. Me too. The sequel, 2 Psychos way up. Hell yeah. The sequel book, which we'll get to at some point, picks up. Strangely enough, I think that years go by in it. The series Psycho fascinates me. Yeah. Especially since it's like continuing in a new way now. Wait, what do you mean? Oh, yeah. They have, so here's how the series, maps out. You have the book came out first, then the movie came out, where they sort of changed a couple of small aspects of it. Norman Bates is now the tall, thin Anthony Perkins. Yeah. Now I think we rest 20 years. Psycho 2, the movie, comes out, and the plot of it is that Norman Bates has been in the asylum all this time. Yeah. But he has been rehabilitated. He's coming out and he's going to work at the Bates Motel again. Yeah. Around the same time. Bad idea, but okay. It seems like it might be a mistake, but all right. Fair enough. Around the same time, I think a couple years later, Robert Bloch wrote Psycho 2. Not based on the movie, no connection to the movie. Instead, what it's about, from my understanding, and hopefully we'll read it someday relatively soon. Yeah. Norman Bates has been in the asylum, hears that they're making a movie about everything that he did in this book, breaks out dressed like a nurse, a female nurse. No, a nun. A nun. Oh, God. Okay. A nun. And heads to Hollywood. Yep. To stop the movie being made. Sounds like a really weird camp. Totally. Mess. I'm in. I'm totally in. I really want to read it. Yeah, I don't think it's available on Kindle. Oh, really? Yeah. I think that we're going to have to get like paperbacks, which I'm kind of excited for. Really? Yeah, I read something in a paperback recently. I can't remember what it was. Well, no, but I mean, like, if it's not available on Kindle, I feel like it's been out of print forever. So we're going to have, like, weird, like, yellowed old copies okay. I thought you meant the prospect of reading a real book. No! Oh, okay. No. And then I think Psycho 3 was also a theatrical I think movie. I don't remember what it's about. Oh, I do know what it's about. What? Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I wish that Is it actually good? The concept is good. Just because, like, I mean, I there are two sides to me about like what makes something good or bad. One, it actually has like artistic integrity, is thought out and written like perfectly, and people consider character motivations, and the director's good and shit like that. And the other where it's just like, oh, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like it just seems like people
so bad it's good.
Yeah. Like people just tried to make a good movie and they failed, and like went zany almost.
Yeah.
The plot of Psycho 3, the movie, is that a woman checks into the Bates Motel, which Norman is still running. She commits suicide, or is trying to commit suicide in the exact same tub where Norman killed Marion Crane. So she's in the tub. She slits her wrists. He comes in dressed as mother to kill her. She sees him. And in the haze, in the delirium, in like the blood loss, and I think she's also drunk.
Yeah.
She sees him and thinks she's seeing the Virgin Mary.
Oh, God.
He stops in his tracks, picks her up out of the tub, goes into Norman mode, brings her to the hospital. They fall in love. Because to him, it was almost like, to him, in his crazed mind, it's almost like he saved Marion Crane this time. This time he went to the bathroom. By the way. Well, in the movie, it's Mary.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the movie, not the book?
In the movie, yeah. So, like, in his mind, he went to that room and somebody was going to die, but he stopped it. So in his mind, it's the same woman almost. So he saved her this time.
Yeah.
And in her mind, she's found religion. And, like, so they're in love. Yeah. Fascinating. It's so weird, right?
That's awesome.
The fourth movie, I think, was a TV movie. Then they made a TV series called Bates Motel. But like 20 years ago,
I know.
at least, where there are ghosts in it and stuff, and it's paranormal, which sounds bad. And Norman Bates isn't in it as a character. He's been dead for a few years. Someone else takes over. Tank Girl is in it.
Cool, good.
Who I hate.
Yeah, I hate her too.
And then now, the true Bates Motel. Have you seen any of this show?
Yeah, I've only seen like the first 5 episodes or something, but I really liked it.
It is terrific.
I know.
It is so
I know.
good.
Actually, I was just looking at Netflix before and it's on there now. So
Oh, really?
I'm going to watch the rest of it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
I mean, like, we got to bring up the Shmook angle on this show with Psycho. I want to study these movies. Would you want to do like an off week Shmook Psycho the movie, Psycho the movie 2 thing?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Oh, it's just such a weird concept. And like, it seems like it got dragged through the mud a ton.
I think probably. It sounds like it got pretty diluted.
Yeah, there's a movie where it's like Norman being obsessed because he's about to have a kid. And there's an entire movie that hinges on him calling a radio show and explaining.
What?
Yeah.
How many movies are there?
There are 4 movies. There are, I think, 3 books. I think there's also a third movie that's called Psycho House.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's even written by the same guy.
I don't know.
But yeah, it seems like the plot's gotten pretty diluted, but it's also like, it doesn't seem like it ever went as crazy as like a Friday the 13th or a Nightmare on Elm Street where it just goes like off the deep end.
Yeah.
But I'm really intrigued and I would love to do a lot more Psycho.
Totally.
In the future.
I'm in. I love Psycho.
Sweet.
Cool. But next, what we're going back to Harry Potter.
Oh, hell yeah.
This one should be a pretty good one, friends.
Booyah.
It is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
I can't wait.
Yep. Me neither.
This is the one that got me in the first place.
I know. So it's also not very long, so we're just going to read the whole thing.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about it on February 20th.
Nice. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm in for that. I can't wait.
Me
I'm
neither.
going to be going on a bit of a cruise there, Rod.
That's right.
So I'm going to grind through this puppy on an airplane.
It's going to be an actual cruise.
Yeah, I'm
not
cruising.
Not just a bit of one.
And I'm not just cruising for a bruising.
Oh, you better be careful.
I'm going to be on the high seas.
You might do it by accident.
Oh my God.
So yeah, on February 20th, we will hear about Will's cruise experience of reading Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban and how it affected his cruise.
Can't wait. All right, guys. Go to WB2045.com, the home of Book Club Shmook Club, the new non-cult initiative to immortalize ourselves.
We are not a cult.
Please stop saying that. And please let us know what you think of Psycho.
Yeah.
If you guys read it, please let us know. You can find us on Twitter.
Yep. I'm at Chrissy Pajamas.
And I'm at Will Rogers 2000.
And we also have the email address schmookclubrules@gmail.com.
Because hell yeah, Shmook Club rules.
Booyah.
So until next time, guys. Good talk, gang.
Meeting adjourned.
Hey, everyone. Thanks again for listening to the show.
If you enjoyed this episode, you should consider going to our website, www.talkbomb.com, where we have archived every show we've ever done. You can also visit our bonus show store, where we sell exclusive episodes of our podcasts for 50 cents a piece, not to mention our merchandise. If you enjoyed Talk Bomb, the best thing you can do is help us spread the word. Tweet, share, review. We would greatly appreciate anything you can do to spread the word. Please also consider following us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, where we're at TalkBomb. Following us online is the best way to keep up to date with our productions. More than anything, we just hope you enjoyed the show. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you at TalkBomb.com.